Okay, so where do I start? And it's been probably a year or more since I actually posted a video. I apologize for all you guys out there that do follow me. I know I have a lot of new subscribers too, which really surprised me after a year. But anyway, thank you all for subscribing, and hopefully you're learning from my older videos a few things here and there that may help you in your modeling processes. Scratch building is fun, just jump out there and play with it and try it. That's the way you learn more than anything. But anyway, over the last year, oh Lord, so much has happened. My life has just been, part of that time in a free fall, and part of that time catching myself and getting back up on my feet, many times over and over and over, it seems like. Over the last year, mostly I appreciate all of you making comments and asking about, are you okay, that type of thing. This is a great community out there that really does care about people, which, a lot of hobbies are not like that, and I do appreciate all of you out there with your concerns. And Dave Sparky called me on the phone too and even asked me. Probably kind of anxious for his house at this point. He's probably maybe even written it off. I apologize, Dave. Anyway, I'm to the point now that it's just a few things I need to go back and finish on that house. So I'm going to continue with that and start posting the last couple of videos on his house to get it finished so I can mail it out to him. Excuse me. But, a few things that happened in this last year. Towards the end of the year, everything I do is in the woods. My nursery, everything is in the woods. And we have a large deer population and other critters as well. But, there's ticks. There just are. I mean, it's not a big deal to me. I'm around them. I find one a few days of the week that's crawling on me that I have to, destroy or get rid of or whatever. And I'm so sensitive, I usually feel them before they ever get a chance to bury themselves in me and get into my blood system or whatever. But I had one late in the year that did get attached. It was a little tiny deer tick. And I didn't think anything about it, but a month or so later I got really, really sick, and my white blood cell count dropped to 50%, and I couldn't walk, couldn't hardly think. I mean, it was a new experience for me. I've been through cancer and, severing nerves down legs, a lot of traumatic things to my body, and I've never experienced anything like that before. And in my life, I've experienced lots of things, some by choice and some not by choice. This is one thing that I've been through that I can say, I don't want to do that again, It was really rough, but I'm healthy. I'm back on my feet. I have been for a little while now, and everything's going good. But it put me way behind in my life and had to play catch up for several months. Now we're in the middle of winter, and I'm still not caught up or ready for winter, and we have 10 inches of snow on the ground. So, in any case, at least that was done. I found it kind of funny because I called into my doctor at the VA to talk to him about it. She said, well, before I went in for my appointment, she said, well, did the site have rings around it? And I'm brutal. Anyway, once I saw that it had been buried deep, I cleaned the area really good with alcohol, but then I took one of my X-Acto knives and I sterilized everything really good, wore sterile gloves, blah, blah, blah. I'm careful about the things that I do. But I took a knife and just basically cut out the little area around where the head had been in my skin, because I didn't know how long it had been there. It had been there a little while, obviously. And, I just cut out what may have been remaining of the head down in there and forced it to bleed really good to clean itself out, like, they show you about snake bites and stuff. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it's more of a hampering process than a good process, because you can create, infections and other things. But anyway, she asked me if it had rings around it, and I told her what I did, and I said, I don't know, the whole area was so bright red after I cleaned the blood off from me pinching it and trying to squeeze out all that I don't know, I didn't notice rings, and she laughed at me. But anyway, I went in, they did tests, and I guess it's like Lyme's disease, but it wasn't actually Lyme's disease. I guess there are 4 or 5 different illnesses that can come from tick bites that are kind of similar, and you know, most of them can be life-threatening if not taken care of or treated. But in any case, that's all good and well and past. I just, you know, one of those experiences that you don't want to do again. Also, you know, several of you know about my antique car. I'll post a couple of pictures here in a minute or two on that as well. But anyway, the house that I got on tax auction, that car was in the house, I finally was able to sell this year. And you know, I did get the car moved home, and thank God I don't have that house to deal with. But you know, the money that came from that house was all immediately invested back into my business, except I think I kept a little bit out and bought myself a couple of things that I just, you know, had to have. But my whole purpose in getting that house was to invest that money into my business. And you know, at this point, I've quit traveling back and forth to Virginia to work. And I am, you know, permanently here in West Virginia now, and doing odd jobs and stuff like that. Now that I've sold that house, I can buy more property. I want to open up a retail nursery. I also grow fruit for a living, and I think another avenue I'm going to add to the business is also cut flower stems for the floral industry, and do some of that. I really enjoy growing. That's what I do for a living. So in any case, you know, with all that, I'm now in the middle of winter. I'm planning out this year, ordering seeds, starting seeds. I also got chickens this year and built a coop for those. So I'm taking care of the chickens through the winter, and you know, just a lot of things. But I think now I'll have some time that I can devote back into YouTube. I don't know that I will be back to a weekly basis. Eventually, yes, but for the next year or two, I don't know. I'm going to be in a state of not panic, but frantic, I guess, for the next couple of years, while I try to reestablish my life in the new directions that even though I've planned it for several years. It's a lot. You know, I've been building these structures here on my parents' farm as a temporary means till I could get land. So all those structures will have to be taken down, moved to a new farm, and rebuilt again. You know, I am ordering more and more nursery stock. I've got several hundred trees and various things coming in this fall that'll have to be potted up, and just trying to get my inventory to a better state before I do open up something retail. So anyway, all that said, it's all to pretty much, you know, set me up for the future, and that's important. And life just comes before trains, unfortunately. I also collect stamps, and you know, that's just another thing that, you know, I don't really spend, well, for years I haven't spent much of any time on it, a little bit, but you know, in any case, it's about me moving forward, and that's why I'm putting this video out there. There's lots of things that you know, I would like to do with this hobby. I mean, I know I built my whole channel around scratch building because people out there just weren't really showing people that much, a few here and there, people techniques and stuff for scratch building. There's a few more now than there was when I started doing it, and I think because I dropped out, I know a couple of my friends that have channels have also started doing it more and showing their techniques and that type of thing. But the reason I did it was to help people understand that it's not hard. Just get out there and play with it and learn. You're going to get better as time goes on. The same with any craft or hobby. It's just what it is. But in doing all this, you know, there's a lot of other aspects of the hobby that I've just not really worked on at all. I mean, most of you all know, and for those that don't, I don't have a layout yet. Eventually, once I get property, I would like to build a dedicated building just for my model railroad. I want to model a specific place in time, and I need a fair amount of room to do what I want to do. And all these structures that I'm building are things that I need for my model railroad that are not available in kit form. But some of the other things that I've been ignoring while just building buildings is, you know, trains, for one, the main focal point of the hobby. You know, I haven't really worked on rolling stock or locomotive power or anything as far as equipment goes. And a couple of the things that I started years ago that I may continue as part of my channel is I started a World War II military train. During World War II, a lot of trains carried military equipment from the military bases in the Midwest to the West and the East Coast. And Grafton had military trains that went through them on the B&O Railroad to the East Coast to be shipped overseas. And many times, armaments and stuff like that, even within this country, were moved from place to place as threats were given against the country, and they had to move things to where those threats were. So you would have seen armament and stuff like that being shipped around the country here. So I'd bought tons of old flat cars, and tons of Sherman tanks and half tracks and Jeeps, all the things that would have went with a small armor unit. And I started putting that train together, but it's a long way from being finished. So I might consider working on some of that as part of my videos this year. Another thing is I started a circus train years ago, and over the years just have bought more and more towards putting a circus train together. And it's all different circus names and stuff, so I'm debating just changing it over, because my last name's Stewart, that's where Stu comes from. I'm just debating on changing it over to Stewart Combined Shows and doing some decals and changing everything and working more on that train so that I could have my circus train together. And also, as far as rolling stock, the plows used here in this area, because there is a lot of double line, main line. Most plows out there in the HO scale realm, which is the scale that I model in, have two-sided plows, because they were used on main lines in a lot of places that only had one track. Well, in this area, it's just a one-sided plow. And I have an old wood kit that I was going to convert over to a single plow, so it involves some scratch building, so I may work on doing that. And also, when my mom grew up, the little, it was I don't know how many miles long it was, but it was off the B&O in Flemington, and it came down in an area called Galloway and Brownton, which were coal mines. And there was a number of coal mines on this. But the road system back then really was crap. You couldn't go anywhere or do anything, because what cattle paths there were mud and deep trenched, and you just couldn't drive. And on the railroad they had a thing they called the jitney, which was just a man-made kind of a small wooden bus with another car they could add on behind it to get everybody to a slightly larger city so they could purchase things or do whatever they had to, visit doctors or that. And people moved by the rail instead of by say an RDC or anything else. They went that way. There were no passenger trains that came down this area, so that's just another thing that I would like to scratch build and work on. There's several things that I had started on scenic material, making trees and things like that, and I've started a couple of videos a long time ago on natural stuff that I use off of plants to make trees, and I would like to continue on with one show just showing that kind of stuff. And the point to all that little conversation was that besides scratch building, there are other things that I'm going to start working on. Now, I'm kind of going to leave this up to you guys to some extent. I know a lot of people watch my channel for the scratch building techniques, where if I'm working on scratch building, like the snow plow or the jitney or things like that, that is scratch building, and I think it's appropriate for my channel. However, some of you, that's all you want is scratch building, and some of you really don't care. I would like for you to add into the comments below what you think about doing some other things. Whether that would be okay to you, working on my trains, or I thought about putting a couple modules together, because down here in town they have events, and I can build a couple of modules that would show the basic main part of the Billington yard with the stations, the freight house. I've built a lot of those buildings. I still have a couple more to do, but I could build modules which would include scenery, track laying, and all the other things, as well as scratch building the buildings. So just another area. So let me know in the comments below what you think, and if you would like to see some of these other things as well, or what you may want to see on my channel. Now some of the other things I was going to do, and I just haven't been able to get to them. I have a friend that has a huge model railroad down in the middle of West Virginia, so I probably will go down at some point and visit him and you know, just do a layout tour of his layout. You know, they're the scenic railroads that are here in West Virginia. They're basically ran by one company called the Durbin and Greenbrier, except for the branch line over at Romney. It's ran by a different company. But Cass Scenic Railroad, the Durbin Rocket, and the Taggart Flyer are all three separate places, and they're all ran by the Durbin and Greenbrier Railroad. And I had talked to Mr. Smith, the CEO, a couple of years ago about doing an interview with him and doing little blips on these scenic lines. Some of you know they're out there. Cass is a well-known state-owned railroad that people do come, and many of you probably have. But a lot of people don't know these others are here. And, you know, they're all within a couple of hours of each other. You could spend probably the better part of a week just visiting all these different ones if you wanted to take a whole week in the center part of West Virginia. And if you do that, by the way, leave me a comment so we can meet, and maybe I can get you in the door in a couple of things you wouldn't be able to get into. I am a stockholder in the Durbin and Greenbrier, not a lot, just a little bit, but it does, not that it would matter. They're pretty open. They're not a police state the way some railroads are nowadays after the 9/11 thing. But in any case, it's all about where to head in the future. I am going to take the next couple of weeks and finish out Sparky's house and get those videos up there. And I have some other oddities, things that I've just been working on in the background. A lot of times while I'm working on one project, I get to a point where I have to wait for glues or paints or whatever to dry. And a lot of times I'm working on other projects behind the scenes that you don't see. And, you know, I may start including some of those. I debated on putting up just a weekly show of a day in the life of kind of thing, and just show you what I do an entire week over that period of time, whether it's working on the main subject that I put up at weekly and all the other little tidbits that go along with that through the week. You know, I'm doing less of that this year too because I just haven't had the time. But a lot of those projects are in the background, and I could include some of that in this as well, or do separate shows on which I made these first couple and then change my habits. But anyway, this is all just to let you know that I am coming back, and I'm gonna go maybe not full throttle ahead because I still don't have the time, but I'm gonna try to put forth more of a concentrated effort on getting some videos out, whether it's going to be weekly or bi-weekly or once a month. I don't know till I can get back on track. I would like to say it would be weekly, but if I say that and I can't follow through, I don't want you to be disheartened. It's going to bum me out. I enjoy doing this, and I wish I've had more time because it's, you know, the real world in my life is so hectic right now. It's nice to have your own world to escape to, and that's part of what model railroading is about really, you know. So in any case, I have watched a few videos of people out there and some of the things that they posted, and even commented on a couple here and there. I've tried to reply to comments on my videos. They don't give me notices anymore when I get comments on my videos. Every once in a while I go back through some of them and look, especially the more recent ones, to comments and try to comment, or, you know, reply back to your comments. But if I've missed some comments out there, I apologize. I try to return comments to everybody that has the courtesy to leave me a comment. I do appreciate them, and that makes me feel included and not like I'm some outcast out here, you know, on my own that nobody appreciates. I mean, I know most of you do appreciate what I do. I mean, I think my subscription rate is up to 622 now for subscribers. One of the things I was planning before I kind of disappeared was also doing a type of a contest. And as soon as money starts to flow, maybe again here in the springtime when I start having more income again, maybe I'll put that together. I had talked to a couple of the companies that I buy parts from, and they had agreed to go in with me and co-sponsor some type of a contest. That way they could get their name out there a little better as well. So we'll see. That's to come. But I appreciate you all subscribing and taking the time to come back and share this time with me. And look soon to things coming from me again in the future. I do have a couple of things ready to post, so we'll try to get those out there. And thanks again. I appreciate this community and the people in this community. We share things that, you know, nobody else shares. It's kind of like a brotherhood almost, you know, like the guys I was in the military with. There are various aspects of my life. There are many different families that we belong to besides our immediate family. And this is a great family out there. I appreciate you guys. So look forward to coming back and sharing some time with you. I hope you're enjoying these videos, and this isn't too long of me rambling with nothing else. I don't listen to a whole lot of rambling videos. I like watching trains run or things being done to learn from and that kind of thing more than anything else. So that's what I try to provide to you guys, and will continue in the future. So, you know, I hope you're enjoying your trains through this Christmas and getting some work done on your layouts or your equipment or whatever it is you're working on. And do some scratch building, enjoy your trains, just happy model railroading.